You'd better have a damn good reason for this. I came here because you said you had something important to discuss. Now, care to tell me who the hell this white-haired man is and what he's doing here? You neglected to mention we'd be having company. I'm the one who asked him to arrange this meeting with you. And who the hell would you be? He's an angel. Or a prophet. What? Did you both finally snap under the pressure? I'll leave it for you to decide what you think I am. I will say, though, that I know everything. I know you've got a girl imprisoned in the observation tower, and I know you're taking her blood and calling it medicine, passing it out at the church. Which one of you squealed? No one told him anything. He just knew. He knows everything, including my deepest desires and what happens in my next life. He's probably peering into your soul this very moment. You completely lost it, I see. Well, how you got your information doesn't matter. All I need to know is this. What are you hoping to gain from it? Wealth? My downfall? What? Morgana's freedom. I want you to give me your key, and then I want you to tell me your story. I've come here from the future, from the world after Morgana's death. Her soul courses with hatred for the three of you, and she's placed a curse of eternal suffering on your souls. Has everyone at this damn table gone mad? Do you seriously think I would believe that nonsense? Don't interrupt me. My objective is not so much to rescue Morgana's physical body from the tower, but to save her soul from an eternity of loathing. I can't achieve that on my own, however, because I'm not from this time. I have had no direct interaction with her or anyone else here until just recently. In order to make her have the change of heart, I need to gather the truth from the people who are from this time, and I suspect that you hold the last piece of the puzzle, the biggest piece. That you have a far deeper connection with Morgana than anyone else here. No, I'm all but certain of it now. Your perspective is crucial to accomplishing my goal. Tell me your whole story, please. How you ended up capturing and imprisoning Morgana and what you thought and felt along the way. Your truth will get through to her, I know it. That will be the turning point in all this. Her curse will be no more, and you will all be returned to the paths you were meant to walk. Everyone will have their salvation. Someone throw this madman out. I won't do it. Neither will I. Damn worthless curs. I'll call the guards then. Who do you think I am exactly? I am the lord of this land. Under ordinary circumstances, I'd never so much as deigned to speak with a lowly peasant. Now get out of my sight, or I'll take it as an act of aggression and you'll find yourself without a head. In this room right now, you're not a lord. You're a lone man. Until you hand over your key, we're not letting you leave. And you'll find there aren't any guards for you to call. You're all alone in this estate. Your preoccupation with staying out of sight played right into our hands. Accept your defeat, Lord. We've already agreed to set the witch free. Cowardly worms. Ironic, coming from you. I didn't think you'd turn coat quite so eagerly. The nun and your kid sister are in it too, I take it. We were only working for you. We never felt any sort of allegiance to you. The loyalty founded on what one has to gain or lose is far more resilient than uncertain, fluctuating feelings. But it would appear this white-haired man shattered that foundation. How long have you been colluding with them, cur? I arrived in this era 2 days ago. What? 2 days? In just 2 days you got these worms dancing for you? They are not dancing for me. I merely spoke with them and they listened. You're a disturbed man. You couldn't possibly have won these two over in mere 2 days. He's no ordinary man. As we've said, he knew everything. While I was talking to him, it felt like he was looking directly into my soul. He's definitely an unusual one, yeah. It felt like he's known me my whole life, even though he just showed up out of nowhere 2 days ago. I didn't believe what he was saying at first, But he knew things he couldn't possibly know. My secret wish, something I've never told anyone before. I don't know what kind of tricks you're playing, but now I know why I've never seen you around. If you'd been lurking around the city for longer, sticking your nose where it didn't belong, I would have taken notice sooner or later. I'm impressed. In only 2 days you managed to convince them both to betray me and set me up. I am indeed the one in charge of this operation, so if it's the witch you're after, I'm the obvious target, yes. And the 2 dogs there surely have some pent-up rage, so I take it you're going to tie me up then torture me until I tell you what you want to know? That's not a bad idea. What do you say? Give me the word and he's in robes. Wait, we agreed we weren't getting rough. I have no interest in solving this problem with violence. We're here to uncover the truth. We needn't exchange blows, only words. Anyway, if we were going to beat it out of him, we would have done so as soon as he walked through the door. We've discussed this beforehand. We're only talking. No one's getting into any fights, physically or verbally. That's right. Well, it looks like I've got no way out, so you've got me. I surrender. Take my key. Go open the tower doors. What? That was easier than expected. Your key is not important right now. Your perspective is what I seek. Why did you make it so the lock required 3 keys? 1 person is more than adequate for the job, so why split it 3 ways? Is that any of your concern, Kerr? Was it because it was too much weight to bear alone? You didn't actually want to imprison Morgana, did you? Something somewhere went wrong. You backed yourself into a corner and couldn't escape. I'm done listening to you. Am I right or am I wrong, Lord? Or should I say, Jacopo? Jacopo? But isn't his name, Jean-Francois Barnier? That's Lord Barnier to you, you insolent child. You seem to be a bit confused. I am the son of the House of Barnier, which means I'm royalty. No, you are not. I don't know how you came to start calling yourself Barnier, but there's not a drop of royal blood flowing through your veins. The slave revolt at the Lord's Manor 7 years ago. You were there, weren't you? During the revolt, you helped Morgana escape. That's right, you saved her life once. That was you. You were the slave from 7 years ago. Slave? Are you out of your goddamn mind? Me? A slave? Like hell a former slave could become royalty. You did it though. You went from slave to lord. Enough! I don't know who's filling that white-haired head of yours with this drivel, but I'm done listening to it. Say another word and I'll throttle you myself. Keep slandering my name, I dare you. Maria told me the slave from back then was dead. She didn't mean it literally though. She meant he wasn't who he used to be anymore. Maria? You've been talking to her too? Because she was afraid if Morgana found out, it would only serve to throw her deeper into despair. The man who had once saved her was now responsible for keeping her imprisoned. Do your ears not work, Kerr? I said I've had enough. I need your perspective. There's more to the story, I'm certain of it. I refuse to believe you acted only for your own benefit, only to cause her pain. If you want the key so damn badly, then take it. Set the witch free, I don't give a damn. But if you say another word, I'll rip your fucking tongue out. Again, the key is not what I need right now. I need your story. Are you deaf or just an imbecile? Your perspective is crucial to saving Morgana's soul. Enough! When you were a slave, you helped Morgana escape from the Lord. Silence! And you spent the next 3 years with her. Just one more fucking word, I swear to God. So how did you end up here? How did the boy from 7 years ago go from saving her to locking her up and stealing her blood? There's no excusing your actions, no. But please, I need you to tell me how you got to this point. Enough! Michael! The next thing I see is a dagger in his hand pointed at me. I reflexively try to push myself out of the path of his charge with my dominant hand, which sends a jolt of excruciating pain up my right arm. I'll rip your fucking head off. The Lord swings his arm up, and the necklace spills from my pocket, making a metallic clink as it hits the floor. When he sees it, his eyes go wide for a brief moment. Of course, I'm just as slawjacked as him. What the hell is going on? Why? How? Why am I looking at a familiar cloud of inky black darkness? There's no one to answer my question, though, and no time to think about it either. I have to make a decision, right now. The Lord, dagger raised, is quickly approaching. Off to the side, the cloud of darkness is expanding. Here we go. Reach into the darkness. I reach my hand into the darkness spreading from the necklace, and as soon as I do... What the hell is this? What's that black stuff? The blackness swells, consuming us all. No! Stop! What is this? Don't make me! Watch this! His shouts fade into the distance, and my mind and body are swallowed up entirely. It's the same thing that happens whenever Giselle and I open a door. The same darkness I've gazed into again and again, and again and again in that cursed mansion. The house that exists outside reality, far, far off into the distance. I can see a gentle light like a hole ripped out of the darkness. Green grass and colourful flowers rustling in the wind. I don't understand. The darkness, it was never present in the past. It was, I thought, a phenomenon restricted to the realm of the dead. So what's going on here? But even my questions are in short order swallowed up by the void. Soon, my body ceases to retain its form, leaving only my conscious to view the sights, sounds, and emotions of someone's past. I become an observer, as I have many times before. I'm staring into a pair of ruby red eyes, open wide with shock. I recall snapping at him, insulting him, but I don't remember what I said, nor do I remember how he responded. All I know is that a wave of churning blackness appeared out of nowhere, washing me away. I'm powerless, helpless, hopeless. My young mind sucked into it like a whirlpool. Young? My young mind? Oh, for Christ's sake. You have got to be kidding me. Why? For the love of God, why? Am I being made to look back at this part of my life? The miserable, stupid, fucking romantic I once was. Why am I turning back into the boy I tried so hard to forget? Where did this absurd black smoke come from, and why can't I get out of it? If it's that white-haired man who's doing this to me, then he's not an angel or a prophet. He's the goddamn devil himself. But all my questions, my confusion, my frustration, everything that composes my present is superseded by that darkness, wisping away into nothing. To be blunt, the world's a small place. There's an unimaginable amount of it out there, but you only ever get to see a minuscule fraction of that. And that goes doubly so for us. The poor barely get the chance to see any of it at all. And those who are born into affluence, well,
They have no idea just how small our world really is. I never yearned for the world outside what I knew. I more coveted it, a splash of spite mixed in. I wanted to claw my way up the mountain, knock all the bastards down who had never seen what it was like at the bottom. If I made it high enough, I could do anything. I would have complete freedom. If that sounds like a childish fantasy to you, well, you'd be right. That's exactly what it was. There you are. You spend so much time in the graveyard that one of these days someone's going to think you're a gravekeeper, or maybe a grave robber. I can understand a gravekeeper, but I take offense at the suggestion I look like a grave robber. I'm praying for the souls who have no one to see them off. The girl, named Morgana, turned around to face me. Though I'd known her for some time, I'd rarely ever looked in her eyes. Her face was almost always concealed beneath a dark hood, revealing only the tip of her nose and sometimes her lips. Honestly, I don't get it. Why do you care so much? These are souls that have no one else to pray for them. At best, they may get a bit of lip service from a priest once or twice. It's our responsibility to offer a helping hand to the sick and the poor, to pray for the abandoned souls. What I don't get is why you need to pray for the dead at all. They're just bags of bones. I hope you enjoy an eternity in hell, blasphemer. Hey, that was uncalled for. I'm just joking, obviously. You take black humor to a new level. Morgana gave me a curt shrug, then turned away. She never faced anyone head-on for very long, and she had a perfectly good reason for it. It wasn't because she disliked me or anything. I don't think, anyway. About 3 years earlier, something had happened that had caused large patches of flesh to fall off her face. Supposedly, she had looked fine before then, but I only knew her as she was at that time. The rest of her body was covered in wounds as well, but applying ointment to them had reduced the scarring significantly. Her face, though, showed no signs of recovering. A close friend of mine, a prostitute, said she thought it might be a psychological thing, but regardless, I continued applying the ointment to Morgana's face. Hey, come on, don't turn away from me. I know you can hear me. I brought ointment, so let me put it on you. It's a waste of time. You don't know that. Your arms look much better than before. It won't be long before your face starts healing too. The ointment isn't free. You're wasting your money. It's my money. I can use it however I please, so just shut up and let me do this. You're a very obnoxious man, you know. What was that? You want me to rub it in real hard, huh? Fine. With a forlorn graveyard as their backdrop, a young man applied salve to a girl's raw, exposed flesh. It was quite possibly the least romantic sight in the world. I would have, at the very least, preferred a somewhat more pleasant location. As the thought fluttered through my mind, I let out a defeated laugh, and I could soon feel her glaring at me. Morgana could be a bit standoffish, but honestly, I didn't mind. For her, this was actually quite sociable, in fact. When I first met her, she didn't act her age at all, but now she was starting to show signs of the 12-year-old girl hidden inside. 3 years prior, when I met Morgana, she had been the victim of unspeakable abuse at the hands of the Lord. I didn't know why he had done those things to her, and I didn't ask either, because I knew doing so would only reopen old wounds. All I knew was that the Lord was so far gone as a human being as to brutally torture a 9-year-old girl. At the time, the only thing that ever seemed to come out of her mouth was the word of God. Everything she said or did was ostensibly for the benefit of others. But it felt to me more like she was acting out of some sort of sense of duty, rather than genuine concern. Honourable, but ultimately hollow. I much preferred this Morgana, even if she could be a bit jaded. What are you hoping to get out of repairing my face? I'm not trying to get anything. I just want you to heal up. And here I thought you were going to try and make me work at the brothel. How many times do I have to tell you? I'm not going to make you be a prostitute. What other reason could you have for wanting my face to get better? Because I want to see it. Isn't that enough? Just so we're clear, that wasn't me hitting on you, okay? The thought never occurred to me. She fell quiet, sitting there motionless as I rubbed ointment into her face. Her skin beneath my thumb was rough and unpleasant to the touch, and honestly rather stomach-turning. It was hard to imagine her face would ever heal. What I'd said about wanting to see her face was true, but what I wanted more than anything was for her to be able to live a relatively normal life. I hope you're prepared to be let down if I ever do heal. That possibility is just part of the fun. You have as much tact as a worm. No tact and bad taste. I'm a real winner. It's a wonder no one throttles you in your sleep. Being a guy, of course, I would have been pleased if she turned out pretty with her face healed, but her life was guaranteed to be easier than now, no matter what she looked like. That was what really mattered, ultimately. I could only imagine how hard it was to have your life turned completely upside down at the age of 9. A large portion of us in the slums had our share of misfortune, but hardly any of them stacked up to what Morgana had had to bear. She had no parents. When I'd asked about her mother, she'd gotten cagey with me, so I assumed she'd been sold off. When I'd asked about her father, though, she'd just pointed up at the sky, which I took to mean he was dead. A girl, no family, sent off all on her own to some strange land, somewhere along the line, ending up in the Lord's cruel grasp. Misfortune felt like an understatement, if anything. That said, it wasn't just out of pity that I gave Morgana so much of my attention. The other reason, though, well, she'd probably go running if I told her. Hell, I wanted to hit myself over the head. I'd still be your friend, even if you turn out to be the ugliest girl in the city. You should be grateful. How is it you haven't managed to chase off everyone in your life yet? I act like a decent guy around other people. Do my best to fit in. Then why are you such a dolt around me? Just doing my best to fit in. So you're saying this is my fault? Everyone could use a thorn or two. Makes them more exciting. You especially. Okay, that should be everything. Does it sting anywhere? Not particularly, no. Alright. Oh, also, finish up here and get back to Maria soon. Unless you'd rather I drag you there. Why? Seriously? It's your damn birthday, that's why. And? What do you think, dimwit? She wants to celebrate. Get back there soon, okay? I'm planning to drop by too. Okay? Okay. She gave a sheepish nod, which was honestly kind of cute, but of course I couldn't say that. So I shrugged my shoulders, feigning exasperation, and then turned to leave. Once I might have offered to accompany her back to the brothel, but Morgana never seemed keen on the idea of walking anywhere with me. Maybe she was afraid of grown men, after what had happened to her at the Lord's Manor. Or maybe she just didn't want me to be seen with someone who looked like her. So hey, I thought you were leaving. One day, I'll show you the world. I won't get my hopes up. Get your hopes up, damn it, I said with a soft chuckle, and then I took my leave. I had every intention of making good on that promise, and I had more than enough reason to believe I could. 3 years back, there was a slave revolt at the Lord's Manor. That's not quite accurate, though, because while I was partly responsible for inciting the riot, I wasn't actually a slave. The local lord was spoken of in whispers as the second coming of the great tyrant of old. The people were constantly grumbling about how he seemed to treat the land like his own personal playground, exploiting everything and everyone on it for his own amusement. When enough stress and resentment builds up in a contained space, all it takes is a little shove from the outside to burst. And that was our plan. Me and a number of other dissatisfied citizens gathered together to pop that bubble and give the Lord a taste of how we felt about him. With the help of a slave trader, I infiltrated the Lord's manor. I'd known slaves weren't treated well, but seeing it for myself, I thought most of these people would have been happier having been born as a dog or cat and owned by someone who actually had a heart. It was revolting, a flagrant injustice. Broadly speaking, there were two types of people who see injustice in the world. The first are those who have everything, who sit unchallenged at the top of the world, looking down on the less fortunate with pity. The second are those with nothing, who wish to overthrow the entire system keeping them down. It should come as no surprise that I fell in the second camp. Once I was inside, I went around the manor telling all the slaves about our plan. Most of them had long since lost the will to fight, but with enough assurance there were people on the outside ready and waiting to help, glimmers of hope started to return to their eyes. Finding out they weren't alone, that they weren't helpless anymore, had an incredible effect on their morale. And once the slaves were convinced, the revolt began. It ended up being much larger in scale than I had imagined, and many lost their lives in the process, but the majority of them managed to escape. Naturally, the slaves couldn't stay in the city, so I directed them to people waiting outside who would take them to another city or a neighbouring country. I had neither the money nor the power to guarantee them a good life on the outside, but that hardly mattered to them. Everyone was sure that wherever they ended up would be better than staying, and I prayed that would be the case. It was during the revolt that I saved Morgana. I would have sent her off somewhere else like all the other slaves, but she was in so dire a condition when I found her that she could hardly even move on her own. She had been sapped of all her willpower. So I brought her to the brothel where a friend of mine worked and asked her to take Morgana in. My companions and I revelled in the revolt's success. It wasn't enough of an accomplishment to have any real political implications, but we still felt like heroes. Drunk on victory, we started talking about going bigger, starting a full-on revolution. Once the elation passed, though, we realised there wasn't much more we could do. Even if we did manage to start a large enough uprising to kill the Lord, we were only peasants. Not only did we not know the first thing about ruling, the other counts would never acknowledge our authority anyway. We'd pretend to be in control until the next in line showed up, and that would be the end of that. So we just ended up sitting on our thumbs, no way to do anything about our discontent. Skip forward to about a month before Morgana's birthday. One day, a middle-aged woman approached me. I had never met her before, but she had wavy hair that reminded me a great deal of my own. Looking me straight in the eye, the woman said, "I was once a maidservant for the Barnier estate. They've done their best to keep it secret, but I had a child with the previous lord, and that child is you." The revelation came completely out of the blue. According to her, I had royal blood, and if we could convince the Lord of that, I would become royalty. Furthermore, she, as my alleged mother, could return to her old life at the manor. The woman urged me to take action, to meet the Lord, reveal my lineage, and reclaim my rightful place at the Barnier house. I would no longer be a poor peasant living in the slums. I would have a comfortable life. I obviously wasn't going to agree on the spot. Her story was so blatantly dubious I needed some time to think on it. If she was telling the truth, though, it could transform our evolution from a dream into a reality. We wouldn't be restricted to inciting inconsequential uprisings. I could seize power legitimately and make some actual change. So I asked the woman to give me some time to consider. Have you decided what you're going to give her? That was the very first thing I heard when I stepped through the back door of the brothel. Maria, a short blonde-haired prostitute and good friend of mine, flashed me with a devilish smirk. I bought a necklace, as per your suggestion. Girls appreciate that sort of thing, don't they? Most do. Me, I got a taste for knives and other such pointy things. I doubt she has much interest in those, though. Sometimes I wonder if you're actually a girl. Anyone could see that Maria and I were close, but our relationship was strictly platonic. Of course, given her line of work, it was unavoidable that people thought otherwise. And honestly, it irritated me every time someone suggested we were anything more than friends. People have this annoying, short-sighted tendency to assume that just because a guy and a girl are friendly, they must be intimate. It didn't matter that she was a girl. I only thought of her as a friend, and as best as I could, that's all she thought of me as well. Maria and I first met when we were children. Even at that age, she was already a prostitute. Myself, a petty thief. We were both incredibly lucky to have survived to adulthood with only ourselves to watch each other's backs. It's possible the only reason either of us maintained the willpower to survive this long was because we had each other to bitch about life to when things got bad. So today's the day? Are you finally going to tell her how you feel? Excuse me? Tell her how I what? Don't be coy. You know exactly what. And it's about time you manned up and told her. I think you got a better chance than you think. Do I need to remind you how old she is? 12, as of today. Practically an adult. I was knee-deep in dick at that age. You're comparing her to you? The longer you hold off saying something, the more difficult it becomes. Break a leg. Party's going to be in the back, so there won't be any customers around to interfere. Alright. I chewed over what Maria had said as I watched her disappear down a brothel corridor. She wasn't wrong. She wasn't overanalyzing. I did indeed have special feelings for Morgana. Women seem to have this strange, somewhat terrifying ability to read people's minds, and Maria was a prime example of that. I had never once so much as suggested to anyone I might think anything of Morgana, but Maria had somehow managed to pick up on it almost immediately. Fortunately, she didn't seem particularly bothered by the fact, though if anyone else were to find out, I could only imagine the looks I would get. I mean, Morgana was 12, and I was 22. That wasn't normal. I've never felt this way about anyone else that young either. Any other girl Morgana's age just looked like another kid to me, so why was she any different? She was covered in scars, and every other time we met she would tell me to go to hell, and she refused to walk anywhere with me, and no matter how much ice I broke, I could never seem to get all the way through. Yet still, the world felt like it was just a little bit better a place when I was with her. It made me want to see her smile, no matter how grotesque her face. How would I even go about saying it, assuming I actually did? Even if your face still isn't healed in 4 years, I'll take you as my lifetime partner, Morgana. God no, that's terrible. There has to be a better way to put it. Now I was getting stressed out, and it was all thanks to Maria. This was supposed to be a day of celebration, not of fretting over stupid personal matters. Not long after I arrived at the brothel and made my way to the back room, Maria and a handful of other unoccupied girls showed up. Morgana, who was supposed to be the guest of honour, was even more reticent than usual. The prostitutes chatted amongst themselves about work in unabashedly graphic detail, trading info on which customers were good and which customers were bad. All the while, Morgana looking incredibly uncomfortable. You guys think you could maybe change the subject? Like we have anything else to talk about? Making the birthday girl want to hide in a corner defeats the whole purpose, don't you think? Oh, don't mind me. I don't have anything I want to talk about, Morgana said, almost in a whisper, her head downturned. At least eat something then. The cookies are barely sweetened and dry as rocks, but they're edible. Jacopo, you little bitch. You got some stones to shit-talk my cookies to my face? Stop it, Maria. Stop throwing things at me. The other girls cackled as Maria and I bickered. Hoping it might have elicited a reaction from Morgana as well, I snuck a glance over at her, but she remained expressionless. You are right about one thing, though. This is Morgana's day. So, let's change the subject, Maria said with a little laugh, having hurled everything within arm's reach at me. Like I said, I don't have anything to talk about. Sure you do. You just have to look a little harder. Not saying you have to reminisce for us. It can be anything. Here's an idea. Are there any guys you got your eyes on? I spewed my tea all over the table. There is. And then I started choking. What? Seriously? Holy shit, who is it? Tell me. Who's the lucky guy? God. Everyone fell silent. Maria gave me a sympathetic look. I knew exactly what she wanted to say. Sorry, kid. You ain't got nothing on God. Asshole. If you're gonna dream big, right? Yeah. I get where you're coming from, pining after the all-powerful, all-knowing God. I'm with you. You bald-faced liar. The grass may be a hell of a lot greener up there, but it's a bit far, don't you think? You're better off settling for the weeds down here. Did she just imply I'm a weed? Maria looked over and gave a wide grin at the sight of me grinding my teeth, then continued. Say, the young man over... Wait, stop right there. Don't say another word. Whoopsie, me and my big mouth almost did your job for you. Damn it, Maria. This was not good. Like hell I was going to let her corner me into saying it here. I stole a glance at Morgana, but her gaze was locked on her knees. I couldn't see what, if any, kind of reaction she was having. Morgana, what she was trying to say is that I have to go. What? I have to go to the bathroom. Sure. Morgana got up from her chair and left the room in silence. I imagine I was making a rather flaccid expression, because as soon as Morgana was gone, Maria began cackling like a madwoman. My reply was the nearest object, courtesy of my throwing arm. Loser! How hard is it to just say it? It would have been easier if you hadn't cornered me like that. You think I believe you would have done it without a little nudge? I would have. Eventually. Eventually ain't gonna cut it. Now's the right time. And don't worry, me and the girls won't make fun of you for getting your rocks off to little girls. That's not the reason I like her. Besides, I would wait at least 4 years before... Does that mean you can't tell her now? I think it'd do her wonders, really. She's, well, you know. So I think knowing someone cares about her will lighten the load a bit. When she comes back, give her the necklace and tell her how you feel. And if she turns you down, we can all have a good laugh about it. Maria and a few other girls chuckled. As uncomfortable as she was making me feel, she had a point. Regardless of whether Morgana reciprocated my feelings or not, there was a good chance that just putting them out there would help in breaking down the walls she had built in her heart. And maybe one day, I would eventually be able to see her smile. I'll do it. I'll tell her. It didn't matter if I came out looking like a loser. It didn't matter if Morgana wasn't interested in me that way. What mattered was that she knew someone accepted her regardless of her appearance or the things she'd been through. And if by some chance there really was royal blood flowing through my veins, then I could make good on my promise to show her the world. I could put an end to her life of poverty and abuse, replace it with one of comfort and wealth. I could buy her even better medicine, something that could actually heal her face. If I truly were royalty, I could do so much more for her. Makes it sound like I want to be some kind of fairy tale hero or something. But honestly, I wouldn't have minded that. If I was going to make her happy, to wipe away all her past misfortune, why couldn't I make it a little dramatic? It wasn't usually my style, but in this case, I wouldn't have objected to a storybook ending. This, though, no. This wasn't the kind of story I was hoping for. The heavy curtains separating the guest rooms had been torn to shreds, and they were splattered with blood. A man, apparently caught without enough time to defend himself, lay splayed out naked on a bed, his eyes, empty, face fixed on the ceiling. The whole area reeked of blood. All I could do was stare stupefied at the carnage. What the hell? Why? How could this happen? My dumbfounded muttering went unanswered, though. The few who were still alive could no better make sense of the incomprehensible massacre than me. The suddenly arbitrary upheaval of our world. The inexplicable, inescapable reality. Shortly after Morgana stepped out, I heard a woman scream from the front of the brothel. Next, a man shouting. At first, I assumed it was one of the customers losing his temper over something, but the tone of the scream seemed somehow off for something like that. It wasn't long before the noise had escalated to alarming levels, so I dashed toward the source of the shouting. A good dozen men, bandits or maybe thieves, they seemed more organized, had raided the brothel. They slaughtered all the customers, stripping them of any valuables, and they tied up the girls, killing any who resisted. The first thought that rose to my panicked mind was that I needed to find Morgana. I needed to get her out of here no matter what. I couldn't let her birthday turn into a tragedy. She'd already been through enough, and I had to make sure she didn't suffer any further. I had to make her life into something good. I searched and I searched, but there was no sign of Morgana anywhere, until suddenly something seemed to crash into me from behind, causing me to stagger. It took a few seconds for the pain to set in, which is when I looked down to see the tip of a blade sticking out of my gut. Blood streamed along the metal surface, and there were little bits of flesh caught on the edges. I turned around just in time to see the man holding it kick me away. And before I had time to process what was happening, I hit the floor and lost consciousness. If I were a hero, I could have surely eradicated all the violent intruders in the blink of an eye, saving everyone. Protected that which I wanted to protect. Not to lose anything. But I was a mere boy. A weak boy, helpless against a few robbers. A useless boy, unable to protect anyone. When I woke up, Maria was kneeling over me sobbing. No sign of the tough, foul-mouthed girl I knew. Aside from her, there were 2 other girls also crying, leaving only 4 survivors. Apparently, I wasn't dead. Looking down, I saw my bare stomach wrapped in blood-soaked bandages. The brothel lay in ruins, a bloody pile of torn bedding, clothes and bodies. I made my way back to the front, and all I could do was stare stupefied at the carnage. What the hell? Why? How could this happen? My dumbfounded muttering went unanswered, though. Maria stood beside me, quietly rubbing her trembling arms. Where's Morgana? I couldn't find her. Why not? I'm sorry. I looked everywhere, but I couldn't find her. I'm so sorry. I wanted to say I wasn't blaming her, but I couldn't find the words. If I'd had power, I could have prevented this from happening. What kind of power would I have needed, though? The physical strength to overpower the thieves? No. I needed to think bigger. If I weren't a peasant, but someone of real influence and import, no one would dare stand up to me. No petty thieves would ever even consider a raid on me. I would have the power to punish anyone who tried. But regardless, this would have never happened at all. I was supposed to give Morgana a good life, to show her the world, to make her smile. If only I had power. Absolute, unflinching power. If I had climbed to the top of the ladder when the chance was offered to me, this all could have been avoided. If only I had asserted my place as royalty a month earlier, as the woman who claimed to be my mother had urged me to. I wanted power. The power to keep everything I cared about safe. The power to change this damn world. The power to stop those filthy thieves. The power to keep her by my side. I wanted power. I heard about the attack on the brothel, and that you were hurt. I'm so glad to see you're well. About a week after the raid, I went to see the woman who professed herself my mother. As you would expect of someone who had served at the old lord's manor, she was very elegant and graceful. The shack where she stayed, though, was a shabby, drab place with a bare wattle and daub walls. You were concerned about my safety? Of course. Show me a mother who is not always concerned about her child's safety, says the woman I'd never met until a month ago. Physical distance has no bearing on a mother's love, she said with a soft smile. Age had clearly begun taking its toll on her, but I could see hints of former beauty. If you had gone to speak with the Lord and revealed your lineage when I first came to see you, you would never have been in that kind of danger. There is still time. Go to the Lord's manor. Show him. I'm not really your son, am I? The woman fell silent for a moment, observing me. I could see the resemblance between us, yes. And I had no memories of my mother. It would be nice if she were to show back up someday. But it just wasn't likely. This whole thing felt extremely contrived. Discussions will progress much smoother if we both know what the other wants out of this arrangement. Start by telling me who you really are. Were you actually a maidservant for the previous lord? She gave a nod, then walked over to a grimy shelf and retrieved a ring that looked very much out of place. It was made of gold, engraved with an elaborate insignia. Look at this. It's the Barnier family crest. The previous lord gave me the ring as a gift, and I've kept it ever since, even after our relationship was discovered and I was chased out. I didn't sell it because I knew I was with child. They will have no choice but to acknowledge you as a legitimate heir if you show them this ring. Why did you wait so long to come find me then? I was afraid they might kill you if I brought you in as a baby. Why were we separated? Misfortune. One day, bandits came and kidnapped you. Presumably they were hired by the Barnier estate because they didn't want your existence coming to light. I consider it a miracle you're still alive. I can only imagine the stern look on my face as I listened to the woman speak. Part of me did, indeed, want to take everything she said as true. Wanted to believe I was someone important. But I couldn't convince myself I had anything other than a commoner's blood running through my veins. It would appear you've done your research. I don't have any other family to the best of my knowledge, which does indeed make me a good candidate for you to step in and claim your stake on. If I were to guess, your child with the Lord has either passed away or never existed at all. It's probably true that you worked at the Barnier's manor, And it's probably true that you had relations with the former lord. You were chased out and now you live in poverty. You want to go back to your former, more comfortable life, and while you're at it, take vengeance on the current lord. But being a woman, you have no means to accomplish that yourself. So you came up with the idea of using a fake son. If your child was still alive, he would be right about my age, wouldn't he? And we look similar enough for you to convincingly claim we're related. But the biggest reason you chose me is because I've made something of a name for myself. Because I was one of the people involved in inciting the revolt 3 years ago. The perfect choice to spearhead a revolution. How dramatic. The man who set the Lord's slaves free was secretly his family. The people would eat it right up. So how far off am I? For some time the woman sat in silence. Eventually she broke it, not by yelling in anger or desperately trying to refute me, but with a smile. I knew very well what lurked beneath that smile too. Scorn. You're sharp for a filthy peasant. It would seem I chose wisely. I was right. She was a manipulative, conniving shyster. But that I could work with. That fit so much better. I wasn't royalty. I wasn't a hero. I was a filthy peasant. I'm in. The first thing I did after agreeing to work with the woman was not to approach the Lord, but to reveal my false lineage to my accomplices. They all thought I was joking until I showed them the ring. Then their dreams of revolution started seeming far more realistic. Maria was the one exception. Not only did she not believe me, she tried to stop me from going through with the scheme. Haven't you had enough danger for one life? Come on, forget about all this revolution stuff. We can build up a new brothel and just stay low for the rest of our days. Does that really sound so bad? You're the only friend left I've got, Jacopo, she said, somewhat desperately. I sympathised with her concerns, but I didn't want to let this chance to gain some real power slip away. I was done having things taken from me. Hear me, my fellow citizens, who live in suffering at the hands of your supposed lord. Within me flows the blood of the previous lord. I am the rightful heir. Behold the Barnier's golden ring, proof that I am of noble birth. Victims of this terrible tyrant, the time has come to start anew, and I shall be the one to lead you down that path. The poor, the hungry, the deprived, all of you stand with me. My call to arms stoked the flames in the people's hearts. When the assault on the Lord's Manor began, they were an inferno of righteous justice. No one was thinking straight. I was about the only one with something resembling a clear head amongst the chaos. If I were really a hero, then I would have rejoiced in that glorious day, that momentous turning point in the city's history. I would have been honoured to have led the charge. But this was all about one woman's avarice and desire for vengeance. This was all about one man's lamentation of his own weakness. I wasn't motivated by any desire to help these people. The Lord backed into a corner, begged for his life. I decapitated him, then held his severed head up for the people. Their cheers and shouts filled the air. As I watched them rejoice, I wondered, was this the future that awaited me? Would the people come after me next? Was my head going to be in one of their hands one day? The king and the other counts acknowledged my royalty, though it was less because I had the Barnier's ring, and more because they thought that it was the best way to prevent things from getting any messier. So with their approval, I formally became the lord of the land. I also assumed the former lord's name, because despite his reputation with his people, it was a name people knew, and one that held far more clout than my own. And just like that, My long-time dream of power had come true. That said, simply becoming the Lord didn't mean everything had fallen neatly into place. Many of the local noble families accused me of acquiring my rank illegitimately. They waited, fangs bared, for me to slip up. They even tried to set me up on more than one occasion. I couldn't trust anyone. On top of that, if I took too long making the improvements I had promised the people, they would start saying I was just as much of a tyrant as the previous lord. There was only so much I could do at once, though, especially with my hands so full fending off the vulturous nobles. Exhaustion soon began to set in. This wasn't the world I was looking for, the one I wanted to show Morgana. It was day after draining day of betrayal, constantly having to look over my shoulder, fighting to meet unrealistic expectations. I was starting to lose sight of who I was as a person. I couldn't let anyone see me looking weak. They would see it as an opportunity to take advantage of me, to manipulate me, to eliminate me. I needed power to protect myself from those people. Attaining rank was only the first step. I needed even more power, enough to ensure no one would ever be giving me orders, could ever play me for a fool. I turned my attention first to bolstering the economy. I provided subsides to merchants in the city. I expanded trade routes. I made it known that people of any skin colour, even those not welcome in any other territories, were welcome in my land, trying to bring some vitality to the city. The previous lord had evidently loved to throw parties, squandering away nearly all the tax money on his own entertainment. If he had left me more to work with, I would have used it to clean up and repair the slums. But for the time being, that had to remain another item on the checklist. I needed more money flowing through the city as a whole before I could make any headway on fixing up the poorer areas. Helping the people who needed it most quickly became a secondary objective. I had a pretty good idea what my former accomplices still in the slums were saying about me. He used us. I could practically hear them whispering. Some of them even started publicly slandering me in an attempt to undermine my authority, claiming I wasn't suited to be in a position of power because I had spent most of my life in the slums. It was long before they had convinced the people I was just another tyrant. I had hoped that they, if no one else, would have sympathized with my position, realized that I had every intention of helping them, and that I simply didn't have the resources for it yet. But no one saw what I was doing. No one believed me, even when I tried to explain. In one case, I invited an old companion to my manor to discuss matters, but the meeting only turned into an attempt on my life. Having absolutely no one I could trust, no one I could call an ally, hit me a lot harder than I had imagined. It twisted my worldview beyond recognition. I had no need for sympathy. I couldn't show care for anyone. Otherwise someone would inevitably lose it against me, old friends and strangers alike. In fact, those who knew me best, those who were aware of where I had come from and what I had been before, were the ones who fought the hardest to tear me down. Rules needed to be created, punishments established. I couldn't allow anyone to take this power from me. Anyone who so much as suggested I had come from the slums, anyone who dared disrespect me, had to be eliminated. All threats exterminated before they could reach me. Somewhere along the line, I had lost sight of my original dream, lost all my desire to do right by the people I cared about. Hell, I didn't have anyone to do right by anymore. Why did I need to climb to the top of the ladder? So no one could kill me. Why did I want money? So no one could mock me. Why did I want power? So no one could oppose me. 4 years passed, and I found myself in a very, very distant place. Miracle blood? Seems like a sham to me. You never know. They say the sound of her first cry brought rain to the land where she was born, saving the whole village from drought. And they say her blood has the power to cure any disease. One day, a curious rumour came to my attention. the kind of whispering I wouldn't usually put much stock into. It was said that there was a witch living in a cottage by the lake. Few had seen her face, but they claimed she had the same voice as a girl who had supposedly performed miracles several years earlier in a faraway village. The people loved their stories of heroes and miracles, and if I could show some support for the churches, then maybe people would stop complaining I was focusing too much on the economy. So I devised a plot to capture the witch and make use of her miracle blood. So I would establish a new church, have it be run by a nun the city had been fawning over for some time. They called her the Saintess. There I would take the witch's blood and call it a miracle medicine, distributing it in exchange for tithes, which the people would certainly come for in droves. And if the blood somehow did manage to have special powers, then it would make the scheme that much more effective. I'll worry about the veracity of the rumours later. Right now, all I want is for you to capture her and bring her to me. I was too busy to handle capturing the witch myself, so I went and found someone to handle it for me. He was a former slave who had several years back massacred an entire carriage of slaves, and the slave traders transporting them. Obviously not an upstanding citizen, but there was little doubt he would have any trouble apprehending a single witch. The biggest reason I chose him, though, was because he was enamoured with the nun. I honestly thought it was rather hilarious, a murderer falling in love with a nun. I had been expecting the man to object, but he agreed almost without hesitation. There was a mansion on the outskirts of the city, which the previous lord had built for himself, and had gone unused since his death. It was there I decided to keep the witch, and it was there I decided to establish the church. The nun would have ample space there to provide temporary shelter to the sick and needy. I thought, with what little remained of my conscience, that I was doing the right thing. If one witch, probably an old woman at that, was all it cost to accomplish such good, then a worthy sacrifice it was. In an ideal world, it wouldn't matter, young or old, a human being was an unacceptable price for anything. But this was far from an ideal world, so I decided that taking what little remained of this woman's life was the best, no, the only acceptable course of action. She would probably despise me for it, but I would gladly accept her hatred in exchange for the benefits her blood would bring the city. It's our responsibility to offer a helping hand to the sick and poor, to pray for the abandoned souls. Morgana's words from years back popped into my head. I believed that, as aggressive, self-centered, and utterly lacking in compassion as my methods may have been, I was following that mantra. I was offering a helping hand to people who needed it in the only way I knew how. I wasn't so dense as to think she would approve of me making an old woman pay the price for my charity, though. Doing this made me no better than a thug. But everything has a price. For every extravagant feast held, a dozen people go the night without food. That's simply the way of the world. I was no god. I was no saint. I had blood on my hands. I was a villain. I knew no way to accomplish good without doing bad. After the swordsman departed, I took some time to myself. I filled a goblet of water, smelled it, then gave a bit of it to my pet dog before gulping down the rest of it. Are you still out there somewhere, Morgana? What would you think of me if you saw what I had become? Several days later than originally planned, the swordsman finally arrived at the mansion. I had chosen the observation tower on the grounds for the witch's prison, and it was there I waited for him. He showed up with a burlap sack swung over his shoulder, setting it down on the ground and saying, "There's your witch." I could only hear muffled grunting from inside the sack, but it didn't sound like an old woman inside. The man's clothes and the bag of blood reeked of blood. Tell me you didn't harm her, dog. I smell blood. You only instructed me not to kill her. Mistakes were made. Limbs were lost. I cleaned up all the blood I got on me. No one suspected anything. That you were able to immediately recognize it, as the smell of blood says quite a bit, Lord. You have killed before, haven't you? Enough yapping. She is alive, yes? Of course. I felt a tinge of guilt for the woman, but it didn't last long. Her role in my scheme and the fate that awaited her was the same regardless of the condition she arrived in. I tossed my gaze from the man to the bag. He crouched down to untie it, revealing a young girl with one arm severed. As soon as I saw her, I knew exactly who the girl was. But why? What was she doing in the bag? Why was she the lakeside witch? What was she doing here? Why was she so pale and shaking? Why had I ordered her captured? How could I have done that? How could I have let this happen to her? Morgana. My voice was hoarse and rattling. She looked up at me, her face just as disfigured and hideous as it had been 4 years before. My mind flashed back to her birthday, to when I had considered offering to take her as my lifetime partner if her face hadn't healed in 4 years' time. Is that you? Her question yanked me out of my memories. You remember me? Did Morgana remember me? The 3 years we had spent together, what kind of person I had been, the boy who had refused to give up putting ointment on her face, those horribly unromantic encounters at the graveyard, her taking shots at me taking shots at her, all that time we had shared. How could I ever forget? Morgana, she remembered me? How could I ever forget all the pain and humiliation you put me through? How could I ever forget the blood sabbers you so loved to hold? What was she talking about? Haven't had enough, have you? Leaving scars on every inch of my body wasn't enough for you? You haven't had your fill of my blood? No, that wasn't me. I was the one who had tried to heal those wounds. You're the man who bound me, cut me up, called me a witch, and then tried to kill me. I haven't forgotten you even for a moment. No, Morgana, I was the one who rescued you from him. I don't care how much my father preaches forgiveness. That's the thing you'll never get from me. I despise you with all my soul. I revile you with every fibre of my being. For every scar you gave me, I give you a lifetime of hatred. No, Morgana. I was not aware you knew the witch, Lord. His voice made my blood run cold. I didn't just know her. Morgana was. This man, the Lord, he destroyed me, mind and body. No, that was another man. He was already dead. I had just taken his place. I had come from the slums. I had been part of the slaves' revolt. I knew I had to tell her. He ruined my life. But between the sting of Morgana's accusations and my need to protect my current position, I couldn't muster the strength to do it. If someone were to find out I wasn't legitimate royalty, that I had come from the slums, then everything I had worked so hard to build up for who though, would come crumbling down. Do I really think it hasn't already? All I had left was my power, my rank. Is that what I actually wanted? I couldn't afford to lose that too. When did I first start straying from the path? Yes, I know her, or I knew her years ago. I see. What do you want to do then, Lord? You look sick. This doesn't change anything. We lock the witch up and proceed as planned. Why? Why couldn't I tell her the truth? How? How could I keep her imprisoned? What what had I wanted power for in the first place? Would anyone ever believe me if I said this wasn't how I wanted things to turn out? Would anyone ever believe me? Before me floats a man, twisted and writhing in pain. Although whether what I'm looking at could be said to resemble a human is a difficult question. It's a hazy, indistinct shape, on the precipice of being consumed by darkness everlasting. I know very well what I'm looking at. The moments before a man's soul shatters. Did I do the same thing to him that Morgana did to me? Was it I who summoned the darkness? Who laid his past bare? Who forced him to relive those events? To experience once more everything he felt, everything he thought? Who put him through that despair a second time? I can only imagine how he must have felt, causing someone he once cared for so much pain. The things he did are abhorrent, more than deserving of reproach, and it would be undoubtedly easier for him to simply vanish into the eternal abyss. But I can't allow that to happen. He still has work to do. His story is essential. It's almost certain Morgana still doesn't know who he really is. He needs to face her, to reveal the truth with his own words. That's the only way we're going to get her to have a change of heart. That's not all he has to say to her either. So I must bring him back, pull him out of the darkness. I grab the man by the arm and begin scouring the blackness for an exit. After some time, I see a speck glistening high above. So I make my way upwards, back into the harsh light of the real world. The darkness parts, and we re-emerge in the dining room. The man is still straddling me, dagger held above his head, just as he had been before our trek into his past. His eyes are wide open, and his hand is trembling. A few moments later, his fingers go slack, and the blade slips from his grasp, piercing the wood floor by my face. Hey! What was that? I swear I saw some kind of black cloud or something. What happened to you two? Neither of you saw any of that? Saw what? If you didn't see anything, then don't worry about it. The necklace. That must have been the key to unlocking his memories. Like when I touched the mirror in the mansion. I have no idea why certain objects show me different memories, but I got what I needed, I think. I'm fairly certain the white-haired girl is Morgana now. The things Jacopo did to her and felt for her behind the third door have much in common with him and Morgana in this life. Why? Did you dig that up? How the hell did you do that? Why did you show me my former self? Why did you make me watch that? Why didn't you tell her? Had you only opened your mouth and told Morgana the truth, told her you weren't the previous lord, told her who you really were, things could have turned out differently. Turned out differently how? Knowing would have only worsened her pain. Yes, you're exactly right. The man who once saved her life is now the source of all her misery. How would knowing that do anything but cause her more despair? The least you could have done then was let her go free. I had already put money into setting up the church here. Her arm had been cut off. There was no turning back. You can't go back from that. You could have, yes. You could have stopped there and then. Don't act like you know anything. You couldn't possibly comprehend the weight on my shoulders, you dirty peasant. You're right. I can't, and I'll be damned if I want to. To hell with understanding the feelings of a man who could so easily lose sight of what mattered most for a little power. Ugh. Money, power, that's not what you really wanted to hold dear. So why couldn't you let go of that? Why did you have to go and let what mattered most slip through your fingers? Had you done anything, it wouldn't have had to come to this. I couldn't have people knowing where I came from. I needed wealth, rank. No, you didn't need any of that. Do you have any idea how much Morgana treasured her time with you and Maria? Do you know how she described that period as one of the brightest chapters of her life? Those 3 years she spent in the brothel until it was attacked. She said that was where she learned how to find joy in life. Enough. She would never say any of that. Why do you refuse to believe me? She never opened up to anybody. She's all just your fantasy. What you want to see in her? You're trying to convince me of something that was never there. No, I think he's right, Lord. I believe she did feel that way. The day I killed that carriage full of slaves 4 years ago, this girl you're talking about, she was there. What? I can't. And she said this to me before I began my massacre. I'm sad because I didn't get the chance to show my gratitude to people very dear to me. She was crying as she did. So that's who she was talking about. It was you. There's no way. When exactly did the brothel attack 4 years ago take place? It was the winter. I see. Winter 4 years ago is when I met the girl too. That reminds me. She mentioned something unpleasant happening to her 4 years ago during one of our conversations. That she was forced to part ways with the people who taught her that humans are capable of kindness. She was talking about you. Ah! There is still time. You can still set Morgana free. You can still reveal your true self to her. She was likely in shock that day, not seeing or thinking straight. She still thinks you're someone else. Hearing you were the Lord has set something off inside her, preventing her from seeing who you really were. Her time in the previous Lord's captivity left scars even deeper than she knew. So all it took was that one word, and in her eyes, you became him. Which isn't to say you haven't caused her much pain yourself. But I still believe your truth is the key to allaying her hatred. It will change her perception of the world. I'm certain of it. So please, release Morgana and spill your heart for her. I was planning to end it all with the Harvest Festival. What? I was already planning to set her free then. I knew damn well it was too much too late, but I needed an excuse to face her, some occasion to give me that last nudge. So I told myself, that's gonna be the day, that's when I'm gonna do it. But you had to show up out of nowhere, digging up my past, throwing all my plans out the window. You still think I'm the reason your carefully laid plans fell apart? I'll let her go. During the Harvest Festival. Tomorrow she goes free. Tomorrow is too late. What difference does it make? When the bell tolls noon on the day of the Harvest Festival, Morgana dies. I've had more than enough of your so-called prophecies. I'm done. Why do you still refuse to believe me? I'm not making anything up. I'm from the future. I know how this ends. Having an occasion and a plan can certainly make it easier to take action. But you can't just wait for the right occasion for everything. Sometimes, if you don't act on something as soon as you've decided to do it, you'll miss your chance. In your next life, you make the same mistakes. You lock someone up that you care about, eventually causing her to break down entirely. And you're so fixated on waiting for the right occasion, you completely destroy any chance of salvaging anything. If you're set on releasing her, then release her. Jacopo! Stop being so damn fixated on your occasions already. Enough. Damn you. You're right. You don't have to tell me I'm being a fool. I'll do it. Right now. I'll do it. I'll release her. Thank you for making up your mind. I didn't make the lock require 3 keys because the weight was too much to bear alone. It was because having others with me would force me to keep up the Lord facade, to prevent me from letting anything slip. Or maybe I was just waiting, hoping someone would betray me, make me pay. Pathetic, I know. You can have the necklace. It belongs to you. Though I doubt Morgana will accept it, I hope you'll still attempt to give it to her yourself. Will you do that? Where did you get that anyway? From Maria. I thought she would have thrown it out by now. I assume she doesn't think very highly of me. Be honest with me. She was planning to kill you. Maybe that would have been for the best. To her, I'm nothing but a power-hungry traitor. The necklace. I'll take it. Here you are. When he takes the necklace, Jacopo looks as though he's on the verge of tears. Whether from the pressure of not wanting to lose face, or simply because he's no longer able to, he doesn't actually shed any though. The other two just stand and watch him quietly. Neither of them saw the vision of his past, but they don't pry either. Our exchange was probably sufficient to give them an idea of what happened, even if they don't know the details. Clutching the necklace on one hand, Jacopo takes up the head of the procession to the observation tower, and while it lasts but for a brief moment, I see an image of the young man he used to be in his slightly slouched shoulders. They each insert and turn their individual keys. The lock disengaging and the door giving a deep groan as it swings open. Beyond it, a spiral staircase extends high into the sky. Every time I've climbed these stairs, it's always been a solemn affair, and now is no different. I've succeeded though. I've got them all here, ready to set her free before she's supposed to die. I've changed the past. Giselle. Can you hear me, Giselle? I made it in time. Now Morgana doesn't have to die tomorrow. I did it. Giselle. Do you guys hear talking behind the door? Is there someone else there with her? There couldn't be. It's only Morgana. Stay with me, please. Come on, you can't give up now. Oh, be quiet. As if you have any idea what I'm going through. Of course I do. No. Standing before the door, at the top of the stairs, a chill runs down my spine. Before I have time to consider what might have caused it, my body moves on its own. I shove my way past the other men and push open the door. I know. I'll come up with something pleasant to take your mind off things. I'll come up with a story. A story? How about this? A dove flies in through the window up above, a piece of parchment tied to its leg. It's a letter from a prince of a neighbouring land. You read it, and then write a response. I do not. I don't respond. After exchanging letters back and forth for some time, the prince comes to find you. I'm not going to fall for your stupid fantasies. Holding on to something, even a fantasy, is better than believing in nothing at all. I don't want you to give up hope, but baseless hope only breeds despair. Not that you would know that. Besides, if anyone's going to come for me, I don't want it to be a prince. There's only one person I want to see. We're all stunned to silence at the scene unfolding behind the door. Morgana is having a conversation with herself. This does answer the question of who the white-haired girl is and where she came from, but I can't. This is just... No one should have to go through this. Her mind has split into two. Oh, Morgana, it looks like you've got visitors. That they're here to take my blood, or they've got no use for me anymore, and they're here to kill me. Oh, don't be so negative. Look, there's someone new. Kill me. Just set me free already. Morgana, you know what my wish is? Kill me. And curse. Put a curse on them. Come on, Morgana. Just look up at them. Your letters. They made it. I never wrote any letters. He's got long white hair, as white as snow, and eyes like rubies. He's beautiful, like an angel descended from heaven. An angel. Morgana, I've come for you, Morgana. Come to set you free. Would you please undo her shackles, Jacopo? As you say. Morgana. Angel? Can you hear me, Morgana? At long last, I have the chance to hold you while you're still alive. I'm here to get you out of this tower. You have nothing to worry about anymore. You can go outside again, see the sun. You can go back to your old life. Angel? Morgana. Angel? No one's going to hurt you anymore, Morgana. and the 3 of them by the door. None of them had any malice for you.
Angel?
You're free. You can go free again.
Angel?
You can have a normal life. No one is going to take any more of your blood.
Angel?
Please, Morgana. Please stay with me. Don't you want to leave this place? I'm going to set you free. I'll take you back to your cottage by the lake. I'll get you medicine. I'll help you with anything you need. If you want to go somewhere far away, I'll take you there. I'm begging you.
I've waited so long for this moment.
Morgana.
I've been waiting so long for God to send an angel. Are you an angel? Are you an angel sent to deliver me from this place? Please deliver me unto my father's presence. I can't go back out there. I can't live in the mortal realm any longer. I don't want to. There's only one place I wish to go. Oh, holy servant of the Lord. You are an angel, aren't you?
Morgana.
Please, deliver me from this place.
Yes, that's right. I am. For now. Yes, I will be. I am the Archangel Michael, sent to deliver your soul unto God the Father, your angel. I have descended from heaven above.
That's wonderful.
Morgana.
His father? Is he proud of me?
Your Father, the Lord Almighty, is exceedingly proud of the great work you've done in His name.
Thank you. It means so much to me to hear that. I couldn't be happier to be able to return with you to see him.
Morgana. Morgana. Morgana! Her body goes limp in my arms as the last of her life slips away. There should have been more than enough time to spare, but I still failed to save your life. At the very least, I hope I was able to provide her some comfort in her final moments. I'm allowed to think that, aren't I? We were too late. But why? Wasn't she not supposed to die until... That's what you said, isn't it? That's how it was supposed to happen, right? So how come we still didn't make it? Why didn't you do anything? Why did you let her just wither away like this? Why? Answer me! I have no answer for you. I had no idea she had deteriorated so badly. We should take her outside. Then you can atone for your sins. But first, we need to take her body somewhere clean. Death does not mean you are free of pain. We need to ensure her soul can depart in peace. You won't see me objecting. You need to say now what you are going to say to her. You must let her know the truth. She's dead. What good will it do to reveal my feelings now? Are you really that dense? Of course it will do good. Her physical body may be dead, but her soul is still here, watching everything, listening to every word you say. I don't believe in souls. Well, I'm begging you to change your mind. Let Morgana hear what you have to say. Don't let her soul seethe in hatred. Please, I'm begging you. Okay. Morgana, I am not the Lord you knew. The man who put you through hell. I killed him. I am the man who freed you from his grasp. I'm the man who spent the next 3 years with you. We were poor and food was scarce, let alone good food. But those were happy times. Just about every day I'd come to rub ointment on your face. I'd tell you to look at me and you'd reluctantly turn my way. I used to think a lot about the face you'd make when you finally gave in. And then there was Maria. I can only imagine how obnoxious you thought the two of us were when we were in the same room together. You sitting off, alone, while me and Maria go at it, not making a peep. Me always trying to sneak glances at you. There's so much I never managed to tell you. And I hate myself for being too weak to put any of it into words. I could apologise, but I doubt you'd forgive me. And I don't want you to either. I just want you to know that this isn't how I wanted things to turn out. What I wanted more than anything was to show you the world. But instead, all I managed to show you was the inside of a cold, dark tower. Not the beautiful, unimaginably wide world outside these walls, but a tiny, filthy corner of it. I did this to you. I took everything from you when I should have given you everything. However much you hate me, I deserve every last bit of it and more. I was ready to pay with my life if that's what you wanted. I was ready to do absolutely anything. This wasn't how I wanted things to turn out. I waited too long to bring myself to take action. Morgana, the man there, he told me you said 3 years you were with me and Maria were the brightest days of your life. Well, they were for me too. I loved you. That's everything. Did any of what he just said make it through to you, Morgana? I pray with all my heart that him opening up will have even the tiniest effect on how you feel. Morgana, I also want to apologise for everything I did to hurt you. I feel terrible about it, I really do. And yeah, I know that's not enough to make up for what I've done, but I want to make amends, whatever it takes. If you want me to give you my life now, I will. Or if you want me to spend the rest of my days paying for my sins, I can do that too.
I am an irredeemable monster and a killer. I take pleasure in hurting people. You were right to be afraid of me. I am genuinely sorry for what I did to you, though. I never wanted to see you dead. Sorry, I can't come up with anything better to say.
Let's bring her outside. Would you carry her body, please? You should be the one to carry her. You're far better suited to the job. My right arm is in no condition to be picking anything up. I'll help you lift her then. You said it was my words she needed to hear most, but ultimately, it was you who saved her, and me who made that necessary. She wanted to be delivered to God by the hand of an angel, so the angel here should carry her. I can't. It wouldn't be right. Please, would you do it for her?
Very well.
Jacopo puts the necklace around Morgana's neck, then lifts her dead body off the ground and places her in my arms. He opens the door, heading the 4-man procession out of the tower as he had in. I walk at the back of the line. Each step they take down the spiral staircase is slow and ponderous, as if weighted down with the knowledge of their sins, that they must make their way to the place they will make their atonement. I wasn't able to prevent Morgana's death, but I was able to uncover the truth. I accomplished something. The sum of everything I did these 3 days should be enough to change her heart and change the course of their next lives. They should be able to avoid the tragedies I witnessed through each of their doors. When we step through this door and people see Morgana's body, we'll be made to pay for our sins. Ultimately, I'm the one responsible, so the 2 of you are welcome to stay behind. I'm coming with you. A girl died because of the things I did. I can't just pretend I didn't have anything to do with me. No, I don't want to. I never had any intention of fleeing. You may have been the one running the operation, but I did just as many terrible things as you. Well then. Say, Michael? Yes? I figure this is probably my last chance to say it, so thank you for convincing me to hand over my key, for giving me the courage to open my eyes. You always had the courage within you, Mel. You simply needed a little help finding it. It wasn't my strength that allowed you to take action, but your own. You sure know how to make someone feel better about themselves. I'd like to be a little stronger next time around, if there really is a next life. I'd like to be strong enough to face whatever comes my way, to not run away or try to ignore it. I have no doubt you will be. The trials you're made to face are great, and very few of them are of your own making. Yours is a tragedy of circumstance, her feelings kept secret and good intentions gone wrong. If you can face the problem when it arises rather than look away, I'm certain you can find your way to a better future. You mean in my next life? I do. I'll trust you know what you're talking about then, and burn your advice into my soul. Don't look away. Please do. I'm glad to have met you. If there is a next life, I'd like to think if we could be friends. Just so you know, you'll never convince me to go on walks around a lake or take naps out in the sun. Well, that makes you sound like a very gloomy, unpleasant person to be around. Just joking. Thank you. You're welcome. You know, you kept telling me you weren't an angel, but you actually are, aren't you? I promise you, I am a regular man. You told Morgana you were an angel. Angels and demons don't get along very well, so I'd rather not run into you in my next life. I appreciate what you did here, though. I'll do my best to be more human next time. Please do. If I repeat to myself what you told me, that what I need most is restraint, as I make my departure from this world, then maybe I won't forget it, even if I do lose my memories. Burn it into my soul. I rather like that. I think I'll follow the boy's lead there. That would be best. And I'll be praying that even if you aren't capable of love, you'll be able to have a peaceful life with a good woman who loves you. That you'll be able to make her happy by doing so. I still think she'd be better off never knowing me. Whether you want her to or not, she's almost certainly going to meet you and fall in love with you. You know, now that I think about it, she's not as normal as I first thought. She's a peculiar woman. I can't say I disagree. Well, I guess this is goodbye then. That it is. I know everyone else is doing it, but I've got nothing to say to you. I didn't expect you would. Though I suppose I do have something I'd like to say to you. And what might that be? Be more open with yourself. If you had only put your feelings into words, things would have turned out differently, both in this life and your next. Coming from you, a man who looks even more closed off than me, that rubs me very much the wrong way. Do I really look that closed off? In more ways than one, yeah. That part of me is deeply ingrained. You telling me to open up won't magically disentangle my personality and make it be. I don't think you're as twisted as you believe you are. I'll consider it if this next life nonsense you're selling is true. Please do. Lord of mercy, one hell of a man certainly busted his way into my life. The last thing I expected was for an outsider to be the one to get us to open that door. Impressive work for one man. It was not only my doing. I had help from a number of people. And it was you, Giselle, who did the most in getting me here. I'm not as big a man as the three of you make me out to be. Before this, I'd lost so much. I felt utterly powerless. I was on the verge of abandoning all hope. But having the opportunity to meet all of you, to spend time with you and the people around you, it did a great deal to revitalize my spirit. Despite the atrocities involved. So I thank you. I pray your next lives may turn out better. I suppose we should get going then. Off to pay for our crimes, to relieve our soul of some of its pain, and I suppose to make sure their next lives go a little better. Let's. He places a hand on the large door, then takes a step forward. The door lets out a heavy groan. The moonlight slips through the widening crack. It's all over now. I did it. I changed the past. What the hell? What I see beyond the door is not the nighttime courtyard. The sun hangs high in the sky, shining down on the blood-soaked grass. Why? What's going on? That's when I notice. The weight of Morgana's body is gone from my arms. And then... out in the courtyard. Mel. Nellie. I see a flaxen-haired girl vomit blood and fall to the ground. A young man kneels over her and takes his own life. No. There are dead and dying townsfolk all around the nun. The swordsman is skewered as he scrambles to reach her. And at the door, just to my back, Jacopo. The Lord lies unmoving, slumped against the wooden frame in a pool of blood. How can this be? We were all just talking not a minute ago. How the hell did we go from that to this? Why? Why, damn it? I changed the past, did I not? I steered them away from this outcome. I changed. Oh, that's what this is? As much as I don't want to believe it, it makes sense. The sense that something wasn't quite right I've been feeling ever since I got here. The darkness that swelled up when I touched the necklace. I was never in the past at all. This isn't the real world. It's the realm of the dead. The same domain in which the cursed mansion resides. Which is why when I arrived here something felt off. Because death filled the air. Somewhere deep down I could sense the similarity between here and the mansion. That gathering place of departed souls. It was never possible for me to travel back in time, to exist and interact with the real past. I was able to summon the darkness because this isn't the real world. Merely a reconstruction, a projection of their souls as memories. It was all set in stone long ago. None of the time I spent with any of them was real. Every emotional moment I thought I shared with them was all an illusion. None of my conversations, none of the smiles I managed to get out of them were real. I was never there. I was never present in the past with them. I'm currently sometime after all that, sometime beyond the era Morgana lived, beyond the 17th, 18th, 19th centuries. What I spoke of as their next lives was actually their past lives. All three tragedies, a history. Immutable, irreversible history. There's nothing to change anymore. What, then, did I fight so hard to achieve? What did I accomplish by warning them of their next lives, by convincing them to endeavour to take different paths? Nothing? Was it all for nothing? I go limp at the sight of it all, dropping to my knees and sending ripples through the sea of blood. Morgana, the girl who called me an angel and asked me to deliver her unto her father, is still chained up inside the tower. What did I accomplish? What purpose did anything I do serve? Was it all just a big damn waste of time? But my cries go unanswered, simply fading into the dead air. Giselle, who kept me going for so much of this ordeal, is still silent. No, I did accomplish something. It wasn't a waste of time. Everything I did, it wasn't for nothing. I may not have changed the past, and I may not have stopped their tragedies, but I achieved something. I uncovered their stories. I learned the truth of everyone's involvement. You can't take that away from me. I know you're out there, Morgana. I know you've been watching this whole time. You know the truth now. I accomplished that much. That has to change how you see them, at least a little. If the present Morgana has a change of heart, decides to let go of her hatred, then that should cause the cursed mansion to disappear, set their souls free. I'll take that leap of faith, that what I've done is enough, and make my way back, believing there's a future for them beyond their tragedies. I'm coming back, Morgana. I'm returning to that house, to that world of blackness seething with hatred, to my present. I'm going to try this once more. An honest attempt to really see you, to face you, Morgana. I'll be there as soon as I can. Kneeling in a puddle of blood, I turn my gaze toward the heavens. The searing sunlight is slowly eroded by darkness, and my body, mind, and soul follow soon after. The bloody corpse-riddled courtyard dissolved, and I find myself once more in an utterly lightless world. I clench my teeth as hard as I can manage, squeeze my eyes as tight as I can, because that's the only way I can keep the screams back, the tears from spilling down my cheeks.
Michael? Open your eyes. Michael, come to me. What? We meet at last. What? Why is the white-haired girl here? Never mind that. Where am I? I was trying to get back to the mansion. How did I end up here? Do you know who I am? Of course I do. How could I not know who you are? Splendid. But what are you doing here? Why is there a sword in your hands? And why can I not speak? I was able to return to this gathering place of souls thanks to your efforts. Your uncovering of the truth of those events that transpired so many years ago allowed me to remember everything I had forgotten. To remember who I am. Remember who you are? You mean that you're a part of Morgana? My apologies. Bringing your soul here without any preparation has left you in a bit of a nebulous state. But my heart told me I had to do this now. Though you have no voice, I can feel your presence quite clearly. Oh, Michael, namesake of the great Archangel Michael, and man of tremendous virtue, I have brought you here to ask for your assistance. I pray you will be able to help me. My request for you is simple. Take this blade, and with it, extinguish my soul. You. What are you? Extinguish your soul? I realize that it's cruel for me to ask this of you, and for that I deeply apologize. But I want it to be you who sends me off. Could you grant this girl her selfish request? That's not why I sought the truth. Not because I wanted to see anyone extinguished, but because I wanted to set everyone free from the mansion's cursed bonds. Because I wanted to put an end to this cycle of pain and suffering. Because I wanted to save every last person caught in this tragic quagmire. That includes you. And you're asking me to eradicate your soul? I must be destroyed. You can't tell me that after everything you've seen, you haven't realized that I have no place in their lives. While it's true Morgana wished for misfortune to befall them, if I hadn't been there, none of their tragedies would have taken place. If I hadn't been there, the flaxen-haired girl would have been able to let go of her yearning for her brother. If I hadn't been there, the shipwrecked merchant's lover would not have lost her place as his tether. If I hadn't been there, the ambitious businessman would not have been betrayed by his close friend. Why are you acting like it's all your fault? Are you trying to say everyone would be better off without you? I was not a victim in the tragedies. I am culpable for them. Culpable? Like hell you were. I saw everything from start to finish. You didn't intend for anything bad to befall anyone. You always acted out of the good of your heart. And you're trying to tell me that makes you culpable? What do you say we answer one last lingering question, Michael? The question of what I am. The explanation might be a bit lengthy, but I would like to share it with you before I depart. I was,
as you ascertain, created by Morgana's mind as it broke down in that tower. I was born to be a receptacle for her pain, to ease her suffering. But there's more to the story than that, Michael. Upon her death, Morgana's soul was afflicted with great pain, resulting from the hatred and resentment she bore. The fact that she viewed herself as a saint only served to amplify that agony. Her identity as a saint gave her purpose in life, while simultaneously constraining her. A saint must put herself second to all others. She must be caring, generous, forgiving, and she must not bear any ill will for anyone. That was not how she felt deep down, though. She was not a saint out of the goodness of her heart. She wanted to hate them, but her identity would not allow it. Those two conflicting aspects of herself tore Morgana apart. She was unable to withstand it, so she took all her saintly characteristics and gave them to me, caring for others, putting herself second, being forgiving, and then she severed that part of her soul. So that's why you always seemed so abnormally pure-hearted. I was no longer a part of Morgana, but something entirely separate. However, I wasn't me yet either. When you came to the mansion and resurrected Morgana, you resurrected me as well, but I had no self at first. I was, I suppose, not much different than the particles of dust floating around the mansion. But eventually, that dust gained a sense of self, taking form as a human soul, and descended into the realm of man and the fate which governs it. What do you think the first thing a new soul wishes for when it's born, Michael? To live. I wished for a continued existence in this world, in a world where I was never meant to exist. I refuse to accept that there's anything wrong with wanting to live. I was supposed to remain within Morgana, as a part of her. I was never meant to be a soul of my own. To become one was to turn against the laws of the universe. I wished to live, and Morgana wished to curse the three men's souls, though we sought after completely separate things. Because we were once two parts of a whole, each of our wishes was shaped by the others. In order for an incomplete soul like mine to survive, it needs something to bind itself to the world, something strong enough to prevent the universe from correcting the anomaly. And so, the wish of that anomaly gave birth to yet another anomaly. A house that sat outside the currents of time. One that could descend into the mortal realm at various times and places. And it was that house that served as a tether for my soul. You mean it wasn't Morgana's power that created the mansion, but your own wish? And why did it have to be that house that bound me to the world? Because that was where she lingered, the girl from which I was formed. Which meant that my wish had the consequence of granting Morgana's with it. The house, having attained perpetuity, served as a place for those reconstructed by Morgana's curse to return to. Furthermore, my connection with her had another consequence. I was the one most affected by her wish. As much as I may have wanted to do good, for them to be happy, my fate was dictated by her wish. In that position, my merely showing affection for anyone was damnable. Falling in love was an act of villainy. My very presence malevolent. Don't say that. I was the true witch, the true demon child. Stop talking.
please. It should never have been possible for me to have a life at all. Please, stop. The universe must be returned to its proper state, Michael. Don't talk about yourself like that. I must be erased, and Morgana's soul restored to its original form. But why? I do not belong here. I never belonged here. What's so wrong with wanting to live? The defect must be repaired. You're not a defect. Damn it. Why couldn't I be able to get a word in now at least? The restoration will not be instantaneous. It took many, many years for me to be formed. And with it, and it will take as long, if not longer, for the process to be reversed. But her soul will eventually return to its proper state. And perhaps, when her soul is restored, Morgana won't be a human. Perhaps she will be a butterfly resting upon the lip of a flower. Perhaps she will be that flower. Perhaps she will be the breeze in which that flower sways. But whatever form she takes, it will be her, whole and complete. With me gone, no more tragedies should take place. So please, take this sword and extinguish me. Put an end to this cycle of misery. I want you to be the one who does it. Please, kill me. I can't. You're asking too much of me. Yes, I want to save Morgana's soul, but do you really have to die for that to happen? Is there not some other way? Won't you do this for me? I cannot. I could never take that sword. I know it's unfair for me to ask this of you, but I want it to be you. As selfish a request as this may be, I want the curtain drawn on this ersatz life by the man I admired so deeply. You admired me? Let's talk a little bit about that admiration, shall we? And where I got my physical appearance. This goes back to when I was a mere particulate matter, drifting about the house. While I still had no mind of my own at that point, I witnessed everything that took place within the house. And in the moment of your death, Michael, I was born. You saw my death? Your actions that day appeared to me as the very definition of selfless and honorable. Your life bore many similarities with Morgana's. You were both abused, imprisoned, called a witch. But while Morgana sought vengeance, you watched your own mother burn your crucified body, and you wished for release rather than revenge. There's nothing honorable about that. I had just lost all hope for myself. I expect you'll disagree with me, say that it was a sign of your weakness, but that was not how I interpreted it. Self-sacrifice being one of the core characteristics Morgana gave to me, I was deeply moved. You didn't curse those who had wronged you in life, nor chose your own destruction, and I admired that strength of spirit. That admiration helped to shape my wish, to determine the form I would take, the name I would have. That's why, whenever I gained a physical body, it was modeled after yours, with snow-white hair and ruby-red eyes. Why my name was always Michelle, after the same angel from whom you took yours. I'm not. I'm in no way worthy of anyone's admiration.
My admiration caused both you and the woman you love a great deal of pain, and for that I apologize. But it also shows just how much I wanted to be like you. I would ask for you, if you would be so kind to consider this a great favor for a starry-eyed little girl. A girl who, quite literally, idolized you to her very soul. Don't. I couldn't ask for a greater honor. How can you tell me that? Than to be erased from the world by you, my idol, and then ask me to kill you. Please, Michael, be the one to send me off. I can't do it. No matter how many times you ask, I can't kill someone who's told me they wanted to live. I know what it's like to wish for life. I don't know if you realized it yet, Michael, but this is the first time we've actually met. The story of the fourth door was Morgana's creation, which means that, until now, we've never been in the same place, while both aware of the other's presence. As far as you should be concerned, I'm a complete stranger, yet still you hesitate. I'm glad that you're reluctant, but you've shown me enough sympathy. I don't consider you a stranger at all. Indeed, this is the first time we've formally met, but I've watched you go through so much. I've seen you live 3 different lives. I've seen the impact you had on the people behind all 3 of those doors. You are in no way a stranger. With my erasure, Morgana's soul will eventually become whole again. Her curse, and the eternal cycle of agony it brings, will be no more. When I am gone, everything will return to its rightful place. I implore you to not hesitate any longer. Are there really no other options? Is killing you really the only way to make things right? To release everyone from this curse? I'm delighted to have finally been able to meet you, the man after whom I modeled myself. I am incapable of taking my own life, Michael. God's teachings prohibit it, and as such, my identity as a saint prevents me from doing so. No, I don't want you to commit suicide. I want to find some way for you to live, to remain a part of this world. I know that by asking this of you, I'm causing you great heartache, and for that I offer you my sincerest apologies. But as long as I continue to exist in this world, Morgana can never truly have redemption. Tell me, who is it you've been fighting so hard to save? That doesn't mean that I didn't want to save you too. I believed I could save everyone summoned to the mansion, that no one would have to suffer anymore, that there would be no more tragedies. Michael, take the sword, please. Worry not, Michael. Doing this will allow you to save everyone. You'll cast off the darkness inhabiting the house, set its prisoners free, give Morgana her salvation, and give me mine as well. Extinguishing my soul will be my salvation. I had a full, satisfying life, even if every moment of it was rooted in iniquity. I had well beyond my share of happiness. I don't need any more. Oh, Michael, namesake of the great Archangel Michael, and man of tremendous virtue, I ask of you to please draw this cycle of misfortune to an end, to take this blade and deliver everyone from their fates. It must be you, Michael. You must be the one to do this. Thank you, Michael, for having the strength to do what must be done. And I apologize for putting you in such a difficult position. Once my soul has been erased, I will be gone from this world forever. I will not return, not in this form or any other form. I feel no woe in that knowledge, though. I welcome my destruction with the utmost of joy. However, if it wouldn't be too much to ask, for you to keep just a little bit of me in a corner of your soul, Michael, to remember me, to remember the life I lived, that would make it all worthwhile. Thank you, Michael. You may very well be a genuine